Hail Mary number 3. Is Curt Cignetti and Indiana's schedule too good for the Hoosiers in the long term? Well, I have to share with you that Matt Stevens, the IlliniGuys football beat writer, warned everyone that Curt Cignetti doesn't worry about ruffling feathers. He doesn't plan on doing anything other than winning games at Indiana. And I have noticed that he has an almost Nick Saban like focus. At 5-0, Coach Cignetti is proving that Matt assessed his coaching ability with incredible accuracy. He's in his 14th season as a head coach. He's been at IUP, Elon, James Madison, and now Indiana. And over those years, he's accumulated 124 wins against only 35 losses. His worst, and I have air quotes, his worst 2 seasons, he had 5 losses in each season. He's never had a losing season as a head coach. And even more interesting is what he does in year 1 of his tenure. At IUP, he was 7-3. At Elon, he was 8-4. At James Madison, he was 14-2. And now he's 5-0 so far at Indiana. This isn't a guy who has the patience that allows him to wait to win. He just wins, and he does it right away. Let's compare the fact Cignetti has only lost 5 games in a season twice. If you look at Indiana's results over the last 30 years, obviously they're not good. But the Hoosiers have only lost 5 games or less 3 times since 1994. They lost less than 5 games in 2020. That was a COVID year. In 2019, which was a 5-game losing year, and in 1994 under Bill Mallory, which they lost 5 games. So you can already see that this is a total culture change for Indiana, and those fans are excited, and gosh, they should be, because this is something that they haven't got to see too often, and it is really fun. Cignetti is trending to have what could be the best first year for a Hoosier football coach since James M. Sheldon, who doesn't remember James M. Sheldon, went 8-1-1 in 1905. The schedule sets up well for the Hoosiers because, as we spoke earlier in the podcast, they have one of the easier schedules in the Big Ten. Hey, you get lucky. Some years you get the tough schedule, you get the short straw. Some years you get the better schedule, and you're like, this is great. Rutgers and Iowa similarly have an easier schedule this year. You have to make hay when things are good. And boy, you can watch those 3 teams to see how they improve as the season progresses. Those 3 teams have the opportunity to get even better. Indiana plays at Northwestern, at home versus Nebraska, at home versus Washington, on the road at Michigan State, at home versus Michigan, visiting the Ohio State Buckeyes, and then at home versus Purdue. Now, they avoided Oregon, they avoided Penn State, they avoided USC, they do play Michigan at home, and they have to travel to Ohio State. Nebraska's a solid team. Northwestern's one that will they or won't they? Can Michigan State live up to what they've done early? They're another will they or won't they team. And Purdue, I'm afraid they probably won't. So you've got an opportunity where the Hoosiers could finish 10-2 or even 11-1 in the regular season. If they do that, that would be the best season in the history of the Indiana football program. If Cignetti's Hoosiers can put up a double-digit win season, which has never been done in the history of Indiana football, which athletic directors across the vast college football universe will be paying attention? Teams like Florida, they're just about guaranteed to be looking for a coach. And if you get the right coach at Florida, they win national titles. If you pick the wrong coach, they don't. But you get the right guy, Steve Spurrier or Urban Meyer, you're looking at the opportunity to generate national titles. What if Oklahoma thinks they need an upgrade to compete in the SEC? They were looking good under Venables in the Big 12, but now in the SEC, that's a tough league. Could they be looking for a coach? I'm not saying it's likely, but in these two big conferences, athletic directors are looking to win titles and what they can do to affect change to help their teams get better. Curt Cignetti clearly is the guy who will help teams get better, and you're not going to have to wait around based on his past history. The other team that I think is very scary, and people laughed at me when I said this about the basketball program, but Arkansas is becoming the NIL kings of basketball, and they have enough big business around that area in Arkansas with companies like Tyson Chicken and Walmart that they can compete with anybody if they can get those backers on board. Jerry Jones himself has said he'd like to help. I'd tell him to focus on trying to get the Cowboys good, but what do I know? But what would happen if you got a Curt Cignetti with his drive and the way he gets results with an NIL checkbook the size of Walmart? That's an interesting thing. I don't know if it'll happen, but you get a double digit win season at Indiana, and it has to start going through some of those minds that, well, could we get better and could we get better very quickly? I expect them to win at least 9 games this season. So write that down because some of my predictions go horribly awry. But I think the Hoosiers will go at least 9-3. They have a better team than any Hoosier team probably since the 80s. Cignetti is clearly an outstanding coach. The schedule makes it a good year for this team. Does he use a generationally good season to launch himself upwards to the highest stratosphere of coaching jobs? I don't know Curt Cignetti, but I can tell you one thing. In college football, when you're at a program that doesn't win as much as other programs, and you would like to move your career in an extremely positive direction, it's usually good when you do well to move up to that next level if you get the opportunity. I don't know what the heck's going to happen, but I think it's going to be a heck of a journey to find out.